Hey everyone, Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com, and this week I want to talk about a topic that's been bubbling up a lot lately. Ever since the Me Too movement started to gain significant momentum, there has been no end to the number of people, mostly men, who've been worried about what this all means for them. While everybody generally agrees that it's good and important to take concerns about sexual assault and harassment seriously, a lot of people really want to try to parse out the issue. Sure, there's predators out there, but shouldn't we be trying to pay attention to make sure that we are distinguishing predators from plain old thirsty dudes? What does it mean for casual and innocent flirting? Are guys gonna start getting into trouble just because they ask somebody out on a date? The most recent example of this came about after Henry Cavill gave his thoughts about flirting in a post-Me Too era during an interview with GQ Australia, where he claimed to be afraid that flirting with someone might lead to his being dragged through hell because reasons. Now, I went over my initial thoughts about this in a previous episode, and I suggest you all go check it out. But I want to take some time to go a bit more in-depth about this, because there are, in fact, a lot of guys who are legitimately worried about making a mistake and accidentally creeping out somebody or crossing a line without intending to. The problem is that more often than not, the conversation surrounding the difference between flirting and harassment tends to get framed as something that women do capriciously or maliciously. To hear some folks talk about it, especially if you happen to be on Reddit or Twitter, it comes down to flirting is when women like you and harassment is when they don't. Careful with that hot take, bro. Might burn yourself. In reality, it's not nearly as complicated. It's all about somebody's comfort and interest. When you're paying attention to somebody's boundaries and the pace that they're comfortable with, you're not likely to run into any real problems. In fact, it's the guys who are pushing too hard, too fast, and who want results now, that tend to trip themselves up. It's the drive to get someone into bed as soon as possible that leads to problems. Now, if you've ever had any sort of conversation about whether something is harassment or if it's flirting, then you will almost inevitably have heard someone reference this.
Be handsome, be attractive, and don't be unattractive.
You'll hear it a lot because some people heard it once at a comedy sketch in 2012 and they've assumed that they now have the ultimate mic drop rebuttal ever since. But the lack of original thought aside, the basis of the argument is that if you're hot, then it's automatically not harassment because presumably women will always be receptive to the hot dude hitting on them. This is appealing to a lot of folks because it does two things. First, it just confirms their biases about women, that women are all shallow and vapid and only care about looks. Second, it excuses men from responsibility for their behavior because, as far as they're concerned, if the only difference between harassment and flirting is whether you're a 5 or an 8, then what you do isn't the problem. It's just that women are shallow and only care about looks. And that's the issue in a nutshell, because when people talk about how it's not creepy when Brad Pitt does it, what they're saying is that it's not fair that someone else gets away with it and they don't. Except, nobody's getting away with anything. There are a few things going on here. The first is simple. If there's actual harassment going on, as opposed to mutually appealing flirting, then it's not like the dude is getting a free ride just because she hasn't hauled off and hit him. The fact that to an outside and often not terribly observant third party, it looks like she's cool with things, doesn't mean that she actually is. Most women in uncomfortable situations will usually try to de-escalate or use placating behavior in order to try to end the encounter without being really overt about it, especially if it's with someone who has physical or social power over them. For all that guys are running around saying that women can destroy a man with a flippant accusation, women have spent lifetimes having to learn how to navigate around horny dudes and how to let them down easy because there are very real risks involved. Sometimes those risks are physical. Women have been assaulted or even killed for having turned dudes down. Other times those risks are social. Women regularly have their careers derailed or even ruined ruined because of how they respond to horny guys. Harvey Weinstein is an obvious and admittedly extreme example, having blackballed many, many women out of the entertainment industry after they refused to sleep with him. But women in general have found their careers coming to a screeching halt because they were labeled as a bitch, or not a team player, or difficult after having turned a guy down. And that's on the mild end of things. Some consequences can be much worse, even when they're not physical. On the other hand, if he's actually flirting, then it's often what you're not seeing, or sometimes not paying attention to. What you're often missing are the signs that his behavior is wanted. As I've said in previous episodes, women will give what are known as approach invitations to people that they're attracted to. These are nonverbal signals that they would like that person to come over and talk with them. But while they're talking and flirting, she'll also be giving signs that she's enjoying the interaction and wants it to continue. These include things like touching or reciprocal touching after he touches her, moving into his personal space, or leading in to talk with him. Because she's giving him permission to continue, even to escalate, well, then things are going to progress. This is because flirting is, at its core, mutual. It's about two people testing and building chemistry together and enjoying the excitement of finding someone that they're into. If only one person is enjoying it, then it's not really flirting anymore. It's just one person annoying the other. So, if your argument is that women will flirt with someone that they're attracted to and that they want to flirt with, then yeah, that's how this works. The key words here are attracted and wanted, which are very different from attractive. It's true, we generally let people who we're attracted to do things that we don't let others do. Consent is granular like that. We give certain people permission to do things because they're people that we want doing those things. And really, men get that. You just have to look at how weirded out they get when someone they're not into starts touching them in a flirtatious way. Say, an attractive woman rubs up on them, or a hot dude. They just never like to think about that when they're arguing about how looks are the only thing that matter. But the fact that somebody is good looking doesn't mean that everything they do is cool because, hey, hottie. The guy at work who is constantly rubbing his coworker's shoulders isn't doing something that's automatically acceptable just because he's got cheekbones you could cut cheese with and abs like whoa. In fact, plenty of women would prefer that he'd keep his damn hands to himself, regardless of whether he's hot or not. Somebody can be inhumanly attractive, and there are still people who won't want to have anything to do with him for any number of reasons. She may be married, she may be gay, she may just plain not be interested, regardless of his perfect eyes and stunning jawline. It's not about whether he's Ryan Gosling or Steve Buscemi. It's about the fact that she doesn't want him touching her or flirting with her, and if he continues to do so, then he's crossing the line. That's why something like this isn't flirting, even when it's presumably just a guy trying to say hello or to pay a woman a compliment.
Today. Wow. That's not good. Wow. So beautiful. Have a good day.
Which is the whole point. The issue isn't that flirting is now forbidden because women are so flighty and inconsistent that we can't have any real rules about what is or isn't harassment. It's the fact that there are times when flirting is unwanted. It may be because of circumstance or location, or they just may not be into you. And regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, unwanted flirting can be uncomfortable. It's pressure and attention that you don't necessarily want on you, especially if it comes with potential repercussions. But now, we as a culture are becoming more aware of the fact that we live in a system that has given men a pass on actions they've taken that may very well have crossed women's boundaries. We're starting to recognize that behavior we once thought of as normal, as allowable, is not actually acceptable, and so now there are consequences for our actions. But for a lot of people, almost entirely guys, it's easier to believe that there isn't a problem, or that they're in fact the victims here because they're being told that their interests and desires don't override somebody else's desires to be left alone. And now they're pissed off because they have to take other people's boundaries into consideration. A lot of folks would rather believe believe badly sourced rumors, urban myths, friend of a friend stories, and statistical anomalies akin to a meteorite strike than to examine their own behavior. Or, for that matter, to be conscious of the comfort and desires and boundaries of another person. It's like I said last time, nobody is mistaking flirting for harassment. Nobody is going around threatening lawsuits against guys for winking at them or for saying good morning, and guys aren't getting fired for asking somebody out on a date who wasn't interested. Not at least when they're taking no for an answer with grace and dignity. And similarly, nobody is accidentally harassing folks. There isn't anyone out there who lost their job because they glanced in the wrong place once, or they said something that they didn't realize was inappropriate until the second it came out of their mouth. People make mistakes. Women understand that because women aren't stupid. These stories are all the dating equivalent of the gum that's full of spider eggs, or the woman who brought a rat home from vacation thinking that it was a chihuahua. What's actually going on is that people are becoming more aware and less tolerant of the habitual line steppers, the folks who are always pushing a little too far and a little too hard, and who either don't notice or don't care that they're making people uncomfortable. Because the people who do care, the people who really are worried about not crossing a line or not hitting on someone who isn't interested, they're not the ones getting in trouble. They're the ones who are being careful. In fact, sometimes they're being a little too careful, which is a topic in and of itself, and I'll go into that in a future episode. But it's the guys who make a big deal out of, well, I'm just never gonna talk to anyone, or, well, I'll just make sure I'm never gonna be alone with a woman just in case. They're the ones saying that apparently they can't control themselves and learning empathy is just too damn hard. And really, all it is just a matter of paying attention. How are they responding to you if you're flirting with them? Are they responding positively? Are they going along with the jokes? Are they leaning into you? Are they touching you? Are they visibly relaxing as they talk with you? These are generally good signs that they're enjoying themselves. On the other hand, do they keep trying to change the subject? Does their smile not reach their eyes and cause those telltale crinkles in the corner? Is their laugh strained or forced? Are they starting to step back or turn away from you? Are they looking at their watch or looking around the room instead of looking at you when they talk to you? Those are usually signs that they are not comfortable with where this conversation is going, and it's time to stop. For that matter, are you paying attention to the social context? Are you trying to flirt with people or approach people when approaching and flirting with strangers isn't part of the accepted social contract? Those are times when it's much better to wait until you're getting some very clear signals from women that they're interested in talking to you than it is to go up and just try your luck. Are you keeping a clear line between, say, work and socializing? Or do you try to turn a dinner meeting into something more? Do you try to flirt with people during mentoring conversations or during networking opportunities? That happens a lot, and it makes a lot of women uncomfortable. Even when it's not a case of someone trying to turn a professional event into a pickup, being clear and upfront helps people feel safe and comfortable, and that's an important part of dating and flirting. Part of what makes a lot of women uncomfortable are the dudes who pull Schrodinger's date, where it's both a date and not a date at the same time, and it's all going to depend on how you react. Just as importantly, how are you taking their refusal? If someone gives you a no, whether it's direct and clear, or if it's a soft no, a polite but indirect refusal without saying the word no, are you taking it as it's intended at its face value? Are you saying, oh, okay, cool. So, as I was saying, or are you teasing them about it, saying something like, come on, you don't mean that? Are you treating their no as something that you can turn around if you address their objection? Or are you taking it as a sign that they want you to try harder? That's going to be a pretty clear dividing line between whether you're flirting with someone or you're pushing up on their boundaries. The thing is, this isn't that hard. Guys, especially straight guys, really don't have this problem of accidentally stepping over the line when they're dealing with, say, other men. It just seems to be a problem when it involves women. Go figure. Straight talk, more often than not, it's not that those guys are missing the signs, it's that they don't like the answer they're getting. But even people who don't have an easy or instinctive grasp of body language or nonverbal signals can learn to pick them up. Trust me, if you are capable of grinding out your raid gear in Monster Hunter or beating Dark Souls or learning to breed shiny Pokemon, you can learn to recognize signs of women's interest. or their discomfort. And the thing is, nobody is expecting you to be perfect. They understand that mistakes are going to happen, but they are expecting you to at least try. They're expecting you to pay attention and to not be the pushy asshole. And as someone who's been the pushy asshole, that's not a great place to be. It's like I said last time, the difference between harassment and flirting is the difference between treating someone like an object and treating them like a potential partner. Flirting is about connecting with someone, not just trying to bag another lay. The key isn't to treat women like porcelain figurines any more than it is to try to plow through their signs of disinterest and assumes that she wants you to chase her. The difference between flirting and harassment isn't about looks or rules. It's about prioritizing interest, respect, empathy, and understanding. It's about learning how to be a better man. Hey, thanks for checking out my latest video. So, one of the common questions I get when I talk about this is how to tell when someone is interested in you, and I'm working on a really awesome video about this that'll be coming along in a little while because it's gonna take a bit more than the usual production. In the meantime, if you've got questions about reading and recognizing someone's signs, let me know. Share your questions in the comments below. And if you have a short dating question or a topic you'd like to hear more about on here, then be sure to share those too, or hit me up at doc@drnerdlove.com with "for YouTube" in the subject header. Meanwhile, we are a week out from the release of my new book, I Got Her Number, Now What? And honestly, I can't wait. A few lucky folks got early access to the book and they really dug it. So I cannot wait for you all to see it. It is available for pre-order on Amazon, so hit up the links in the show notes and be sure to get your copy. And while you're there, check out some of my other books too. And if you do me a huge favor and leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads. Now, if you're digging the video, then you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, let me know. Please be sure to share it with your friends. If you're really enjoying this, if you're finding that the series is really helping and you're getting a lot out of this, then consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 is a huge help, and like I'm always saying, I can't do this without the support of my patrons, so whether you just joined me or whether you've been a patron from the beginning, thank you so very much. Meanwhile, follow me on Twitter at @drnerdlove, join the Facebook page at facebook.com/drnerdlove, and as always, hit that logo to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I'll see you here next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Later.